The greatest skill of the 21st century is not email marketing, it is not graphic design, it is not web design, it is not artificial intelligence, it is not personal branding, it is the base layer of all of these skills that I just mentioned, persuasive communication. And nobody really tells you to learn that specific skill. Instead, they tell you to learn things like copywriting or marketing or sales, because why are we learning skills in the first place? It's to give value and therefore acquire value. If value is perception and other people can't perceive what you have to offer as valuable, then you're not going to get the value that you want to receive. And in most cases, that is going to be money. So if you do not know how to persuade or understand the psychology of the person you're trying to exchange value with, whether it's in a relationship or just in business, whether you're approaching someone at a bar or you're approaching someone in the DMs, it's all the same thing. You need to persuade the other person to see that value so that they can give you the value that you want in return. Persuasive communication comes into play in everything. If with your writing, it has to be persuasive if you want it to be shared. If it's not persuasive or be seen as valuable to other people so that they exchange the value of them sharing the content. That's what you want from them when you're posting content, right? Anything that you post online, it has to follow a general persuasive structure. People don't remember what you say, they remember how you make them feel. This is worth repeating. Humans are emotional beings, not logical. 99% of the population have not developed themselves to the point of being free from or in control of their ego. That is the foundation of capturing and holding attention. Poking your reader's ego. You can feed it or make them feel good, or you can starve it or make them feel bad. If you can take people on an emotional journey of love, hate, excitement, deceit, calmness, and any other emotion that eventually ends in a benefit for their life, you have mastered the art of content creation. Life is story. Your job is to use the power of word to make people feel something. Stories mimic the natural highs and lows of emotion. We understand the importance and kind of how to persuade by mimicking the patterns of the universe, the highs and lows, the emotions that give people meaning and feeling in this life. Because if you're just happy all the time, this is why happiness is kind of a false metric to pursue, is because when you're happy all the time, that's not happiness. Like, you're just kind of stuck there. It's normal. Equilibrium, homeostasis. Eventually it balances out to what is normal or boring. So if you're at this level of happiness all the time, then your baseline increases to that and you are no longer happy. So you have to pursue more and more and more. That's all to say that human understanding is based on the highs and lows of life, and we need to understand how to bake that into whatever we write, speak, or communicate to another person in life or business. So as you're scrolling on social media, this is a great way to learn, is rather than consuming information, research information. So when you're scrolling, try to understand, okay, what caught my attention? Why am I still reading this? How are they holding my attention? Pattern recognition helps with learning. You'll feel that increase in dopamine. You'll be like, oh, that's what Dan was talking about. Okay, I'm going to remember that and use it in my own content creation or writing or speaking.
People want to say yes to those who have given to them first. There was a recent study that showed when customers came into a candy store, if they were given a gift of chocolate at the beginning, they were 42% more likely to buy in that store because they felt obligated to give back to someone who had given to them. Good. Another is liking. We prefer to say yes to those we know and like, but how does someone achieve liking? One thing that we learned negotiators can do is to find a commonality, something that's similar with their negotiation opponent. Bring that to the surface and they get a better deal. They get more grace in the negotiation because they're liked more as a consequence. A third is authority. Of course, we prefer to say yes to those individuals who can give us evidence that they are competent, they have credentials, they have experience in a particular arena. And another is social proof. The idea that if a lot of our peers are doing something, it's probably a good choice for us. So if we get information that this is the fastest growing or the largest selling, I saw an article of a study that was done in Beijing, shows you the cross-cultural reach of this. A restaurant manager, a restaurant owner, can significantly increase the likelihood that people will choose a particular dish from the menu by adding a small addition to the menu description in each case. And it's not the one you would think. This is the specialty of our house, or this is our chef's selection for the evening. No, it's a little asterisk that says, this is one of our most popular items. And each one immediately becomes 13 to 20% more popular.
So that is social proof.
That's social proof. What are the other people around? And what I love about that study, it was entirely honest, it was entirely costless, and it produced a 13 to 20% increase in choice. We all have most popular models or options. Say that at the outset first, and that persuades people to pay attention to it and to decide to try it. The fifth principle is scarcity. We want those things that are scarce, rare, dwindling in availability, not easily accessible. One study showed that in a supermarket, if the supermarket put underneath a brand only X items per customer, they doubled purchasing. Scarcity. And then finally it's commitment and consistency. We want to be consistent with what we have already said or done publicly. So if we can ask people to take a small step in our direction, they'll be more likely to stay consistent with that because they've already made a commitment toward our product, our service, our idea.
So the way that you talk about the products that you have will indicate the level of conviction that you have. The best salespeople are true believers. Like, if you think about what sales really is, it's a transference of conviction. And so you've got some person who doesn't believe, one person who does believe, and trust is what completes the transfer. And you have to duplicate the conviction in this person and this person. And so if a salesperson doesn't believe in the product, they have no way to transfer the conviction because they have no baseline of conviction to work off. And a different version of this happens when people start hot, they do really well, and all of a sudden they start not selling as well. It's not because they don't know how to sell. And training is not the thing that's going to fix the problem, because if they're already closing before and they're not closing now, it means they've changed something. So the way to prevent this and to actively increase conviction, which is what's going to change the way they say the words on the script, is by actively having a process to make them believe. And so obviously the way to make it believe is to actually have a good product, but in terms of systematizing that, it's having a regular cadence between customer success and sales, meet weekly, and you have both teams on, and the people from customer success share the wins of the clients who are going through the program. That's on a weekly basis, and it's in a long form format. It also serves as a way for them to talk back and forth to each other. The sales team can see what's happening on the customer success side, the customer success side can see what's happening on the sales side, and you create cross-departmental knowledge, which is really useful because the sales team knows not to say some things because people are misunderstanding them, and the success team is giving the sales team ammunition for the things that they know that they're doing to deliver that makes them more convicted. On top of that, you should have a pipeline that is established for customers where you can collect testimonials and reviews, and what you do is, in the best case scenario, you have that client hop on with the sales team and explain their story. One of the things that I realized when I looked at our stats was that on Saturdays, in particular Saturdays, we were closing like 100% of people who were walking in the door. And I was like, what's different about these days at my facilities versus the days that we're not, we're closing a normal amount? And it turned out that those days were the days that we would actually do the wayouts for our program. So people would finish their 6-week or their 12 weeks or whatever it was, and we would do all the wayouts on the same day. And so it's kind of like a graduation ceremony. So everyone steps on, they're crying, they're losing weight, they feel amazing, but all of my team was there. And so when we had sales consults that were that morning or throughout the graduation day or right after the graduation, while it's all fresh in their mind, when someone would walk in, it's like the sales took half as long because the belief and the conviction was so strong in the salesman, it overcame the fears and the doubts of the prospect. But if you truly believe, and if you think about how we buy things as prospects, we buy these things because somebody recommends them and we believe the person. Like, think about an organic buying process, right? Someone says, hey, have you gone to that sandwich shop? It's awesome. Like, you're like, well, great, I'm gonna go there, right? Like, why would I not? And so the closer you can have the trust so that when you make the recommendation, it's like having a referral, the person will believe you because the way you are saying it is believable. And the way to make it believable is to actually believe it. And so having a structured process of increasing the conviction of the sales team is a way to massively increase the closing percentages of your team, not based on skill, but based on heart. And so if you can bridge that gap between the customer success and the sales team, and you can do that both internally and externally. Internally because you have processes, externally because you get those customers on the call so they can hear the stories, but also you and the sales directors can read those testimonials every single day to them in the morning. And I like that because it sets the cadence for the day, because it reminds us why we do what we do on a regular basis. Why am I taking these calls? Why am I knocking on these doors? Why am I setting up shop and collecting leads at the Whole Foods so we can make sales later? Like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this so that I can be a part of this transformation that these people are going through as a result of whatever products and services we sell. Salespeople especially, and so this is for the founders and the CEOs, are going out there and they're fighting for you every single day. They're the front line, in my opinion. They're the offensive line of the team. They're just pushing. They're in the trenches, moving the ball forward every 1-2 yards at a time. They're chipping away at it. Let's see if I can get this camera back. And they're pushing your products forward every single day on your behalf. And so the biggest thing that a sales director, and if you are the sales director because your business is smaller, is that you have to breathe conviction into them, because their conviction can wane over time, and it's a cup that has to be refilled, because it's that conviction that they're spreading to all the prospects. And the thing is, the prospects are spreading doubt into them. And so you have to fill it up from your side so that they can become diluted and then get refilled, right? Which is why a good salesperson comes in, they can crush, and all of a sudden they start going down. It's not because of skill, because they already had the skills. They already knew how to close when they came in. The problem was their mojo was off.
Mojo.
And so this video is fundamentally about fixing mojo within a sales team, which is just getting them to believe and reminding them to believe, which is why one of the biggest sayings I have in sales is we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. People who believe in something automatically sell it.